Hi everyone, I'm Adi. Welcome back to the Chess Clan. So this is the third episode of the Checkmate Pattern Series, and in today's video I'll be talking about two checkmating pattern. I'll be talking about the Pillsbury's mate and the Boden's mate. So the first one I'll be talking about is the Pillsbury mate, and I must tell you this was a very challenging checkmate pattern for me while I was going through the book. So in order to save time, you already know most of the checkmate pattern was which I encountered during my exercises while I was going through the author use support book. A disclaimer: this is not an advertisement, just currently what I'm using, and I felt it as thought me checkmate patterns. So that's just my own personal opinion about the book. So moving on to today's checkmate pattern. As you know, in this series I'll be showing you one examples and two exercises. You get a point for correctly solving the exercises in this position. So white to move. This is a game between Pillsbury's and F. Lee in London 1899. You should pause the video and figure out the best move in this position. White to play and win. A slight heads up, I think I spent over 15 minutes in one of those exercises trying to solve it because it was just so frustrating that I couldn't find the solution. So white to play and win. Oh, my apologies. Before white to play and win, I have to explain the theme behind Pillsbury's mate. So Pillsbury's mate is a rook and bishop checkmate pattern where the bishop controls the corner square next to a castled king. So often what the bishop do, you can see that beautiful bishop on h6 is controlling this diagonal. So that would be something like the rook on g1 giving the check, the king can go here and we are able to transfer the bishop here, something like that, give it a checkmate. In that sort of, I don't want to perfectly explain it so that I don't give it out to giving out the solution away, but it's just the bishop controlling the escape square for a castled king while the rook is on an open file giving checkmate. So that's the theme behind Pillsbury's mate. So this is a game between Pillsbury and Lee in 1899. So white to play and win. So if you go through rook, bishop takes f8, there's just queen near check. After king moves, you sack, take, and this black is up a knight, and this should be completely win. Even though this is a round pawn structure, it doesn't matter. Black has an extra knight, and that will be winning. So bishop f8 is a mistake one more time because this after queen h1 check, there's anywhere the king step in, you can decide to give back here. If you decide to take, the king will be taken on f8 and black is up a knight in this position. So the best move by far, I tried in my own, I tried rook g1, I tried king e2, all sort of moves, but the best move by far is queen f3. Brilliant move. So why is queen f3 a brilliant move? You would notice that if black decides to accept the sacrifice, you would see the theme of the Pillsbury's mate. So let's say queen takes f3. It's a blunder because this leads to checkmate. Regardless of what black does, there will be checkmate in about 5 to 6 move. So rook g1 check. There's different move. Black can decided to play king g8, but after this check, king g8, bishop f7, bishop f6 is going to be a discover check, and which way the king goes, we are going to give a checkmate on rook g4. The queen can decide to step to g2, but this is the theme of the Pillsbury's mate. You see this bishop controlling that diagonal, while this beautiful rook is giving a deadly checkmate. So that's why rook takes f3 is check. So let's say after rook g1 check, black can decide to be more stubborn, playing queen g2 or playing this check as well. So let's say queen g2 this time around, there's check, king h8, there's bishop h7 check. The same theme after king g8, there's just bishop f7 checkmate. So that's one of the themes why queen f3 is queen accepting the queen sacrifice is a blunder. So the more stubborn way for black to slightly, be in the game for a little while is to play queen g6. And after this, we have to be white has to be absolutely. So you get 2 points. No, this is an example, so you don't get any points. You can decide to award yourself a point for solving the example, but you don't get any points for solving the example. So queen g6, if you're able to find queen g6 for black, kudos to you on that, because that's a more challenging way to stay in the game. But after that, the rook is just hanging. We're going to take the rook. After rook trade, white decide to castle, and there's this threats coming in, something like that. And in this position, there's ideas of queen going here, just decide to just catch us all these pawns. And after castle here, black is going to spend an extra tempo just saving his king. But we're going to bring the rook to the open file, something like h4. At the end of the day, the queen infiltrating on these squares as well, stacking up the rook in this diagonal. Eventually, white is going to win. If anyone cares for the evaluation, it is +5. It is +5 for white in favor of white in this position. So let's go to the exercises of so this is the theme of the Pillsbury mate. So let's go to the exercises. For this, you get 1 point because it's almost like the previous one I show. I can decide to say you should pause the video as well and figure out the solution. But if you see the difference, the bishop is on a different square this time around, and because it gives black couple opportunities to be more stubborn, white to play and win. So the theme in the previous one is queen f3, and if you're following the video, you know why black can accept the queen sacrifice. So just for anyone who has decided to fast forward up to this point, queen takes f3 is a blunder because of the usual culprit, and after rook g1 check, the king can't go to h8 because of this beautiful bishop on f6. So the only move is queen g2 or queen g4. They can even decide to play queen g3, but after either of this move, rook g4 is going to be checkmate. This most of the time in Pillsbury's mate, you often get help from black rook as well, blocking the square, the escape square for their king. Because of this, if this rook was on e8 or d8, maybe black would have had a slight chance to have escaped in this position. So you often get help from black rook as well. So that is why queen f3 cannot be accepted. So in that position again, the most stubborn way for black to stay in the game is to play queen g6. And after queen g6, there's different routes. You can decide to castle with the aim of that this king can't escape because of the beautiful bishop on f6. So after queen h6 check, king b1, rook e8 decided to free up this square. We have rook hg1 check, and after the king step here, I'm sure you can pause the video now to just test yourself and figure out the best move. I mean, it's obvious that's the best move. Queen takes, they have to sacrifice the queen in that position, and this is absolutely winning for white in this position. I mean, you should look at the ideas of there's queen c6, which is winning, there's rook g1, which is winning. So, and after king f8, rook takes c6 is going to come. So here already, check. If the bishop come here, you just take the free bishop. So this is like +7 for white in that position. So that is winning. So if you decided to not castle, you can play king d2 with the same idea of king h6. You can go here. Going king c3 is absolutely beautiful. You can guess the evaluation instead of guessing the move. You can guess the evaluation in this position. This is like +6 for white in the aim that you want to free up this square for the king to escape, and after rook g1 goes here, you know. And here I don't think bishop g7 is still like +6, and after takes, king takes. The reason being that after rook g1, the king move here, you still have this idea of, threatening mate with this. No, there's no mate with that. Maybe you want to play rook b8 next and threatening checkmate. So after rook b8, queen g7, rook here, you just start collecting the pawns, and white is still winning regardless. So that's the theme of the Pillsbury's mate. If you're able to just solve these exercises, you get 2 points. And the reason it should be 1 point for finding queen f3, because that's what I previously showed in that example. But I'm only giving the second point for whoever find queen g6 as well. So you get 2 points for solving this exercise. So I'll move to the second exercise now. And this one, and this one was a little bit challenging for me. I think I got it wrong when I solved it, and I spent a huge chunk of time trying to solve this particular exercise. I spent a huge chunk of time trying to solve this. So black to play in this position and win. Don't forget, we are down a rook for a bishop, so we need to do something here to win. So drum roll, what is the best move for black to win? When I solved it initially, I didn't get it right. So drop a comment below if you're able to solve it right in the first try. So the best move in this position is queen f3. If you figure out in the previous episode, I covered the queen and bishop. Excuse me. In the previous episode, I covered the queen and bishop mate. So you could see after queen f3, white need to react instantly. If they play something like this is just going to be a free bishop regardless of whatever happens. So a free queen, I meant. So in this position, the only option, like maybe that's not the only option, there's ideas of rook d5, but if just to show the theme of the Pillsbury's mate, if white decided to, so white taking the queen here is a mistake. And why is it a mistake? In the spirit of the Pillsbury's checkmate, you would see why it is a mistake. Now after rook g5, the only available square for white king to step to is h1, and after king h1, the beautiful bishop b7, bishop f3, checkmate. So you add if the rooks work, if this rook wasn't on f1, the king would have stepped to the side, but because of this rook, this pawn now, we give a deadly checkmate. The rook covering the square, the bishop giving the checkmate this time around. In the previous one, it was the rook coming to the open file to give a checkmate, while the movement of the king is being restricted, but it's the other way around now. So to see rook queen f3 sacrifice, you have to see the idea that rook g5 is coming, then after that you see bishop f3. I think in my when I first solved it, so you get 3 points for this. It's 2 points in the game, in the book, but you get 3 points for this because finding queen f3, you just intuitively sacrifice your queen. Didn't come to me naturally, so I missed the exercise. So after queen f3, the best try for white in this position is to play rook d5 to just prolong the checkmate. Like, it's not that it saves white, but that's the only way to prolong the checkmate, is to play rook d5. And after bishop takes on d5, they have to give up this queen this time around, because let's say they decide to take. So you know after bishop here, they can't. No. So it's just like a free rook. I don't know why I'm saying this wrongly. I was assuming that white can take back, but rook d5 is the only way for white to stay in this game. After here, they have to give up the queen, and after h here, check gf3. We have the same mating motive because there's just nothing white could do in this position. This rook on f1 is boxing the king in, and here, let's say white is trying to spend an extra tempo playing rook f1, and it's just like a simple checkmate. So that is why this is going to be checkmate regardless, but kudos to you for finding queen f3 if you were able to. So you get 3 points. So for the Pillsbury's mate, you get a total of 4 points. And I'll be moving on to the next checkmate. Yeah, so welcome back to the checkmating pattern series. So this is the second mate I'll be covering for this third episode, which is the Boden's mate. I think I made the mistake. I didn't correctly show the name. I think I was showing Showdown and Boden in this for the Pillsbury's mate. So it's meant to be Pillsbury and for Lee. And that one, apologies for that for anyone who noticed that technical mistake. Why am I bloating like this? So for the Boden's mate, it's a very, very beautiful mate. I think you are able to get that on the board. Kudos to you. So the Boden's mate involves the queen or the rook and the bishop pair. The Boden's mates exceptionally show the powers of the bishop pair, like why they say in open board bishop pair are just so monstrous, like they are so good. So as you all know, I'll be going through one examples and two exercise. So if you correctly solve the Pillsbury mate, you already have 4 points. So let's see how many points you can get in this episode. So in this position, it is black to play. In this position, it's black to play in this position. Black to play and win. Black to play and win. You can go ahead and pause the video and figure out the best move for black. So move review is d5. Brilliant move. Absolutely brilliant move. At least d5 guarantees that you win a piece. At minimum, black is going to win a piece for d5. That is if white plays perfectly to avoid getting checkmate. So I will just briefly show the theme of the Boden's mate. So if black decides to accept the pawn, it is checkmate. You can go ahead and pause the video and figure out why this is a blunder. Because of queen take c3 check. Black has no option than to accept this queen sacrifice with the aim of getting checkmate. Just white is just patiently waiting to get in slaughter. When I'm very sure you've all had games where there's just nothing you can do. You're just waiting for your opponent to just make the final move and you resign. So this is what happened in this game. It's between Shoulder and Boden in London 1860. So after bc3, I'm very sure you saw the reason why queen c3 checkmate, queen c3 check was the best move to follow up. You can see the powers of the bishop here. This bishop on f4 dominating the square for the king to step 2 on b1. The bishop on h3 here is giving a beautiful checkmate on the king, and there's just nothing for white to do in this position. So that's why bishop takes d5 is a mistake. And again, I think one of the best moves was just knight f1, some random move but white is just going to lose a piece to avoid getting checkmate. So if bishop b3 is tried, there's the same tactics again. There's queen takes c3, and after bc3, there's bishop a3 checkmate regardless. So if bishop b5, I think bishop b5 fails to the same tactics again. White is going to get checkmated. If bishop d4, there's just knight takes d4, takes, and at least d5 wins a piece. That's if white want to like stay in the game. For anyone who is wondering what's the evaluation in this position, it is -5 for black. It is -5 for black. After knight takes c4, the engine is recommending, the bishop coming here or just safeguarding your bishop. We are up a bishop for white extra pawn, so you already know that is completely winning. So I think one of the best moves for white in this position is just to play knight f1, but even that, knight f1 to play knight g3, just threatening to take this bishop, but even that we can just give up the bishop here. You already notice why this can't be taken, because of this checkmate again. So that's why it's just a very beautiful position when I was going through it in the exercise. So after knight f1, we're going to take here, bishop here, and rook d4 has to be played. And after rook takes c3, the queen takes. For anyone who cares to know the evaluation, we are up +1. We're going to play this. If they take, we're going to take, and that's all she's going to be writing. And that's going to be checkmate. So let's quickly move on to the exercise. I don't want to spend too much time on this video. So what is white's move in this position? Don't forget, in the Boden's mate, it often involves the queen or the rook and the two bishop pairs. So if you familiarize yourself with the position, if you see white is currently down a ton of material, we are only up a bishop and I think couple pawns for black 2 rooks. Although black queen is offside, but if she manages to get into the game, that will be the end for white in this position. So white to play and win in this position. White to move and win in this position. If you see, his queen takes c6, checkmate. And bc6 is forced because the king can't go to the square. Obviously, the rook here is doing more damage to black than white, and bc6 is completely forced. That's the only move available for white, and I'm very sure you already see the winning move here. Let me do it in a slow-mo. It's going to be checkmate. Once again, you see the powers of the bishop here giving a deadly checkmate on this square. This bishop on f4 is doing a very fantastic job, and the bishop on a6 is doing a marvelous job as well, delivering checkmate. So you get 1 point for solving this. You get 1 point for solving this exercise. So I think I didn't have too much issues solving this exercise. Once I went through the exercise, I was able to solve this. But this is one of the aesthetically pleasing checkmates in the chess world. Just, imagine you being down a coin, 2 rooks in this position, and you are able to give checkmate. So we go into the second exercise, white to play and win. Like, whatever happens here, there's nothing black is going to do. Black is getting checkmated. So you can go ahead and pause the video and figure out the best move here. Yeah, my throat is sort of dry. So white to play and win, just like I said, Boden's mate often involves the queen or the rook with the 2 bishop pair. And if you've already familiarized yourself with the pattern, you already see that rook takes c6 is going to be checkmate inevitable. Because of this monstrous bishop on f4, the king can't go away. This square can be blocked, so bc6 is forced, and after bc6, you see the same idea. Bishop a6 is going to be checkmate. This is just really beautiful to put on the board. I never imagined I would be able to do something like this in a real game, but if I do, it's probably something that I'll be very proud of. So this is checkmate. This is checkmate on the board. So this is the idea behind the Boden's mate, is just revealing the powers of the bishop pair in this position. But often, you get help from black pieces. Look at this rook and knight causing damages to their own king. So that's the idea behind the Boden's mate. So in this episode, I've managed to cover Pillsbury's mate and Boden's mate. So if you correctly solve all the exercises, I think you get, so in that one you get 3, 1, 4, I think you get a total of 6 points. So you get a total of 6 points if you're able to solve the exercises in this episode. So don't forget to drop a comment below on your favorite checkmate pattern in this episode, if it's the Pillsbury, if it's the Boden, and which one do you consider is very hard to get on the board. Do you think the Pillsbury's mate is hard? I think the Pillsbury mate is sort of very easier to get on the board compared to this Boden's mate, but that's just my own opinion. Drop your own opinion in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next episode. See you. Bye.